Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be here this week. I'm joined on the traditional territory of the Lekwungen-speaking people, the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nation, by Minister Mike Farnworth, the Minister of Public Safety and Solicitor General. And on the telephone with us is Nicolas Jimenez, the President and CEO of ICBC. I want to start by saying, as I have now for over a year, it seems, that COVID has changed how we interact with each other. It's changed how we look at the world. And that's particularly true when it comes to simple get-togethers with family members. We're now doing that on our computers. We're wearing masks wherever we go. We're engaging with people at a distance. We're washing our hands more than we have in our lifetime. But we're all doing it for one common purpose. That's to make sure that those we care about stay safe and that we're doing our part to reduce the spread and transmission of COVID-19. British Columbians have been extraordinary over many, many months in reducing our interactions, reducing their engagement in the broader public, and the benefits today will be coming home for drivers. ICBC has been working, as you know, with government over the past 2 years to find ways to reduce costs, to bring down policy costs to drivers, and that's resulted in fewer collisions, fewer claims through the COVID period, and that's led to higher income at ICBC. Now, I know many of you who have been following these issues over the past number of years will be shocked to hear that rather than being in the red, ICBC is in a favorable financial position, and during the early days of COVID, there were calls for a rebate or a refund to drivers as a result of reduced activity on our roadways, which led to fewer crashes, fewer claims, fewer injuries, and fewer costs to ICBC. So today I'm very proud to announce, working with Minister Farnworth and the CEO Jimenez, that ICBC will be returning net savings of about $600 million directly to drivers. This will be in the form of a one-time rebate check, averaging about $190 per policyholder, the largest single give back to policyholders in Canada through COVID-19. Now, this will affect all of those who had policies between April 1st and September 30th last year. We've delayed until now, and the checks won't be issued until the beginning to the mid of March. But we wanted to make absolutely sure that we were keeping ICBC on sound financial footing as we build the new enhanced care model that we've been working on for the past 3 years. That enhanced care model, of course, will make sure that if you are in an accident and you do have an injury, you'll get immediate care and you'll be cared for as long as that care is required. In addition, we'll see about a 20% reduction in policy costs per driver, on average about $400 a year. We've had a previous press conference about the calculator, and many of you have plugged in your data and got back even more favorable responses, some less so. But on balance, it's going to be about a 20% saving per driver, about $400 a year. These are transformative changes at ICBC, and I want to thank all of those who have been patient with us as we've grappled with this challenge that got completely out of control. And by the time we came to government, required significant action by taxpayers to help bail out the corporation, and good hard work by Mr. Jimenez and his executive team and everyone at ICBC has now allowed us to be giving back $190 to policyholders for last year's policy, and looking forward after May to new policies that will be 20% less than they have been in the past. This is positive news. I'm very happy to be leading that off, and I'll now turn the microphone over to Minister Farnworth, and he'll give you more of the details on the rebate checks.
Thank you, Premier, and thank you, everybody. So last month, we announced an online tool that lets ICBC customers calculate what the shift to enhanced care will mean to their pocketbooks. And starting this May, drivers will see their premiums reduced by an average of 20%, which will mean about $400 in savings. But today, we're here to talk about COVID-19 rebates. Our government made a commitment to deliver a fair deal to BC drivers by providing rebates from any surplus ICBC delivers during the pandemic. And today, we are delivering on our commitment. Since 2017, our government has made affordability a top priority, and that includes affordable auto insurance. At the same time, we've been working to put ICBC back on solid ground with financial stability that sustains low and stable rates into the future. After careful analysis and due diligence, we are now ready to deliver $600 million in rebates to millions of British Columbia drivers. This comes as a result of balancing lower claim costs during the pandemic with other considerations such as lower premium revenues. The vast majority of people who insured their vehicles in the early months of the pandemic will see on average a rebate of $190. The key takeaway is that millions of ICBC policyholders will be receiving a COVID-19 rebate, but not at the expense of ICBC's financial stability or any future savings that the new enhanced care model will bring starting this May and for years to come. On that note, we're happy to take your questions.
A reminder to reporters on the line, please press *1 to enter the queue. Our first question today comes from Binder Sajan, CTV.
About possible rebate many months ago, and you're saying that this is the largest rebate, but...
Binder, can you start again?
Oh, sorry. Sure. Just wondering, critics will say that this has taken too long, that people could have used this help earlier. How do you respond?
Well, as you're well aware, we had significant problems at ICBC, and we made it clear that not only were the changes in terms of enhanced care needed, and we put those in place, but we wanted to ensure that ICBC and the numbers and the figures around ICBC finances were in fact strong enough to us to be able to deliver on this commitment. We have been prudent and we've been cautious, and so we are following on that commitment now, knowing that ICBC can afford it, knowing that this is going back to consumers, and that $600 million is the largest rebate in all of Canada.
Binder, do you have a follow-up?
Yes, and this one is for my colleague who's been trying to get some answers from the Health Ministry with regards to the Red Cross being brought in to help some long-term care homes. Why has it taken until now to do that? And what do you say to families who are still trying to get into homes as essential caregivers?
Well, it is. We're very grateful to the Red Cross for agreeing to step up and provide a little bit of a break for all of those employees working in long-term care who have been going, as you all know, flat out for months and months and months, putting themselves at risk to protect vulnerable people in our community, our loved ones, our parents and our grandparents. The health authorities are working out the final details with the Red Cross, and I think this is very good news for British Columbia.
Our next question today is from Richard Zisman, Global.
I'm trying to get some nuts and bolts on this announcement. Do people have to apply for the rebate? How will they get the money? If someone is a multiple policy holder with multiple vehicles, do they get multiple rebates? How is it going to be based on how much you paid? And I guess I'll leave it at that for now. But just the nuts and bolts of how this is tangibly going to work. How is it going to be calculated? Oh, and if you canceled at the height of the pandemic when a lot of people did, then do you not get this rebate?
Okay, there's a lot of questions in that Richard. I'll do my best to answer as many of them as I can. But what I can tell you is it's for each policy that you have. It is going to go out in March. You will receive it via check. And then in terms of the coverage, well, it will cover the period from April to September. So if you had full policy coverage during that time, then obviously you would get the full coverage in the rebate, which I think works out to about 19%. And then if you were partially insured during that time, then it would be a partial rebate coverage. And Nicolas, I know you're on the line. Have I missed anything there?
No, you got it. Perfect.
Thanks.
Richard, do you have a follow-up question?
I did. For Premier Horgan, a lot of people are waiting now on their pandemic pay. There have been some challenges working through the logistics there. I know the ICBC system is very different, but, how can people trust they are going to receive this rebate when they're still waiting on another rebate that a lot of people applied for in December?
So you're talking about the COVID benefits as opposed to pandemic pay? I know you've asked a dozen questions, Richard, but maybe you could clarify that last one. Are you talking about pandemic pay or COVID benefit?
Pandemic pay. Or that was not one of the options you gave me. The program that you promised, $1,000 you promised during the campaign.
That's the COVID benefit. I can advise that over $900 million has been sent to British Columbians, or will be by the end of this week. 1.8 million British Columbians have received pay of this pandemic benefits, and there are about 300,000 outstanding applicants that we've literally gone to going case by case, making sure that maybe a number was transposed on a social insurance number, or the income tax information was incorrect. So this is involving basically hand-to-hand service to make sure that last 300,000 British Columbians who have applied and are eligible get the benefit. And so that, I think, is when you consider that this is just a little over a month and a half since the program was initiated, to contemplate the notion that $900 million, just shy of $1 billion, has been transferred directly to British Columbians is quite extraordinary, and I am confident that that has never happened in British Columbia's history. So I'm very proud of the work that the public service did to pull this together, and I ask for patience for those final 300,000 British Columbians who are frustrated by delays, but there's legitimate reasons for that. There's an error somewhere, and we work together to find that error. When it comes to this rebate, this is something that I recall having questions in this very press theater several months ago about where were we? We've seen fewer accidents. We've seen fewer claims. Will there be a benefit to drivers? And as Minister Farnworth said, based on the past 3 years of our experience working with ICBC, where there was such volatility on their financial position, we wanted to be absolutely clear we weren't doing damage to the corporation that has just turned itself around to meet what we believe is a legitimate return to ratepayers, policyholders, of a benefit in this case. Now, the difference between the COVID benefit and the ICBC rebate is ICBC engages with their policyholders annually. They have a lot of information. They know where people live. They can send checks seamlessly. That wasn't the case when we asked British Columbians to be eligible in a range of wages over the course of a year, how much they paid in taxes, which would predict how much of a benefit they got. This will be an easier formula for ICBC to do. They engage with their policyholders all the time, so I think policyholders should have every comfort. The CEO Jimenez and his team will be able to meet these targets starting in March. And I don't know if Nicolas, if you wanted to confirm what I just said or add to it.
No, everything you said is correct. We know precisely what people paid, for how long their policies were active between April and September, and it is very accurate for us to be able to calculate the reduction that they're owed as a result of this COVID benefit.
There you go, Richard. That answers some of your questions.
Our next question is from Katie DeRosa, Vancouver Sun.
I'm just wondering where you came up with the $190 rebate, and basically the other provinces have given up to $300. So just wondering how the math works that is the highest in Canada.
Thanks for that question. So that's the average. The range could be, depending on the nature of your policy, I think 80% will have between $50 and $300. The average is, as I said, $190. It could go from as low, though, as $25 to about $400 being the maximum, but the average is $190. Some provinces, Saskatchewan, for example, did not give any rebate.
Katie, do you have a follow-up?
Yes, and just following up, basically, how do you come to the rebate amount, and why didn't you sort of allow the BC Utilities Commission to sort of set that rebate amount?
Well, the rebate amount is decided on what we saved during the past year. The Utilities Commission has set a 2-year rate in place, which will see, because of enhanced care, a reduction on average of 20% in premiums for ICBC customers who have both basic and optional insurance. This is following through on a campaign commitment that we made that said we would return those profits that occurred because of COVID savings to motorists. And at ICBC, we've calculated what those were. We've been prudent in terms of taking into account allowances and forecasts and all of those things that are required. And the $600 million is what we're able to do. They then know how many policy holders we have. There are roughly about 2.86 million people who will benefit from this. And so they also know the length of time that each of those policyholders was insured during the period that we're talking about. And so they can calculate very, very, very easily what the average is based on the number of policyholders, based on the nature of those policies. And so that's how the average was obtained.
Our next question is from Lisa Eusden, News 1130.
Hello. I'm not sure if it's the Premier or Mr. Jimenez will answer this, but, ICBC out of the red, yay, people are happy about that, but, as a sort of insurance for the insurer, why not put the money back in and save it in case there's another dumpster fire? Is there sort of, playing with fire when you could just keep it there for a rainy day?
We were clear with British Columbians prior to the last election that, one, the dumpster fire that ICBC needed to be fixed. Thanks to the hard work of ICBC, my predecessor, David Evie, who did a lot of the heavy lifting, and our government, we got that under control. We passed legislation that said no more can government raid the coffers of ICBC to put into general revenue. And we also said that we're going to return the savings because of COVID and the resulting decreasing claims that we were seeing back to ratepayers. And so we're doing just that. And that's why we're doing it, following through on our commitments that we made.
Do you have a follow-up, Lisa?
Yes, and this, I guess, is for the Premier, but regarding the COVID benefit that you were talking to Richard about, you're saying for people to have patients, 300,000 people is a lot of people. I understand 900 million you're saying is going to go up, but that's still a lot of people. Some are saying that this is just like a big screw-up, essentially, and, the first payment that went out earlier last year, at the beginning of the pandemic, went so well, this one not so well. I guess it makes people lose faith, it makes people lose trust, and it makes people feel like they're ripped off. So I guess, what do you say about that, the people who are still desperately waiting for this?
I would say that 1.8 million British Columbians don't feel that way at all. They're very excited and pleased, and that's evident by my inbox and the engagement that I have with people in my community. There are 300,000 applicants that have made an error somewhere, or it's been transposed by staff incorrectly, and it will take some time to correct that. I asked them for patience. I asked them to be mindful that there has been an error made. That's not passing judgment on anyone. It's just that it was relatively seamless for 1.8 million British Columbians. That's astonishing, and I hope people will continue to have faith that we're going to continue to work hard and do our level best to get these dollars into their pockets so that they can spend them in their communities and stimulate small businesses and keep the economy going. That's the objective here, and I appreciate 300,000 people is a lot of people, but again, without a calculator, I think we can all appreciate that 1.8 million is a lot more.
Our next question is from Rob Shaw, Check News.
Oh, hi. This question is for Mr. Jimenez. Can you walk us through ICBC's current financial situation? How is $600 million the totality of what it saved due to COVID? Where are we on track for a net loss or income this year? What's the minimum capital test number at? Can you take us through that?
Sure. Well, first, Rob, what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate net income and the COVID benefit. The fairest way for us to base a rebate is on underwriting savings versus net income. And that's because underwriting savings are directly linked to the way people were driving during the pandemic. And that's how we came up with the 720 in terms of lower claims costs, minus 120 in terms of reduced premiums, because people were dropping their coverages during that time. And that's where you come up with $600 million. And I think both the Premier and the Minister have said, we're able to do this at this point because we have a fairly good outlook for what our year end is going to be based on our Q3 numbers. At Q2, that was less so. In our business, we generally don't have a good sense of how the year is going to land until Q3. It's just the way we have to take the number of claims and then put them into actuarial forecasting models. So our net income outlook projected at Q2 was $410 million. Obviously, we're going to revise and update that at Q3 when that is made public, but we're now in a position where we feel more confident that releasing $600 million, which I just described, is the prudent and fair thing to do for our customers. If we look longer range, when our service plan is released, you asked about our MCT, our minimal capital test. So the capital position of the company is going to improve significantly when we move into enhanced care. We will see that rebuild over time, and those numbers will be clear when the service plan is released, along with it, the 3-year forecasts.
Do you have a follow-up, Rob?
Sure, thanks. I mean, I guess it's tough for us because we haven't seen your Q2 numbers. We don't know what your Q3 numbers are. We have no idea what the situation in ICBC is other than that $410 million. So is there any more insight you can tell us into what we are on track for? When are we looking at a record year? Are we looking at $1 billion? Are we on track for that $400 million? Is there some way we can quantify for British Columbians who have seen this up and down, once you take this money out and give it back in rebates, what does ICBC look like at the end of the year? And then also on the MCT, I mean, when we look at all the documents ICBC produces, it talks about the importance of bringing that back up. So by giving this money away, is ICBC still able to put capital reserves aside in the amount that it says it needs to?
A couple questions in there.
Nicolas, do you want to hang just for 1 second? I just want to put some context on Rob's question. And the challenge that we had was in this very room, months and months ago, many of you were insisting that because claims were down, that accidents were down, activity was down, there should be a benefit to ratepayers. And we agreed with you. And now we're doing that, and we're doing it in a prudent manner. We would not, based on the 3-year track record that we've had in government, put at risk the progress that drivers have made and that we have made to ensure that we keep rates down over the long term. So it wasn't reckless at all, and it wasn't done without consulting with Nicolas and his team to make sure that we were in a position to return these dollars to the people who paid them and did not claim anything as a result, and also keep the company on the right track. And we're very confident that that's the case. And I'll pass it on to Nicolas to continue to make the point. But we wouldn't be here if we didn't think that this was achievable and also allowing us to keep on the road that we've been on with ICBC.
I don't have much more to add. Our Q2 will be released shortly. Obviously, Q3, which the ink is barely dry on that, Rob, so that will come out in the context of government's Q3 release. I can tell you the trends that we were seeing at Q2, some of that information's in the backgrounder. We were seeing claims lower by about 35%. As we hit our Q3, that's down about 30%, so we're continuing to see a much better picture relative to what we experienced last year. And then the long-range outlook as we transition into enhanced care is only going to put us in a better place. The benefits that we are seeing this year are beyond COVID. The reforms that were put in place in April of 2019, the Civil Resolution Tribunal and the minor injury caps, those have had a significant and positive impact on our financials in this year. So too has investment income, which has done very well for us in the first 9 months of the year. So I look forward to being able to kind of get into more of that when those details are out there, and they will be soon. But it's all very clear that we're heading in the right direction.
Our next question is from Susie De Silva, CBC.
Thank you very much. I'm going to try a little bit of what Richard did and get a couple things in. Just first, if you could just clarify, I know the checks coming out starting in March. Can you say how long you think it'll take before they are all out? And beyond that, just again, going a bit into this forecasting and looking ahead, how difficult is that to do, though, when we don't really know what is going to happen with the pandemic? In theory, everyone is vaccinated by the end of October. ICBC could go back to seeing claims go up a lot by the end of the year as people return to normal. How are you factoring that in? How conservatively, when are you thinking, things may go back to normal, which could see costs go up for ICBC?
Well, thank you for those questions. And firstly, I'll say that our expectation is that the checks will start to roll in March, middle of March, and we're hopeful that it'll be a number of weeks. Again, as Nicolas said, ICBC is in regular contact with policyholders. Longtime drivers will know that they're regularly updated on when it's time to renew, and there's constant engagement between company and client. With respect to what the future holds, we are confident with the changes that we've made at ICBC, the enhanced care model, the changes with civil tribunal and other issues that Nicolas just spoke about in the previous question, that we're on a very good track to get ICBC, our public auto insurance company, into a position where it can once again be the envy of public insurers across the country. That includes Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and we'll be able to provide quality care for those who need it, as well as reduced rates for drivers. That's our objective, and it's been a 4-year process to get to this point, and we're very proud that British Columbians have stuck with us and have supported the changes we've made as we've tried to get the company back into a sound financial footing. Full marks to the team at ICBC for acknowledging and responding to the challenges, and to the legislature for passing various pieces of legislation to put us in a place where we can continue to provide insurance for drivers and care for those who need it. That's the objective. That's what we all want from the company, and that's what we're going to be getting starting in May. But before that, we're going to see a benefit to those who reduced claims because of their driving habits in the first quarter of last year. First 2 quarters, I should say.
Susie, do you have a follow-up?
I do, yes. This also for the Premier. This is related to COVID. Should bars and restaurants be preparing for perhaps a New Year's Eve-style last-minute shutdown? What is the government guidance for Sunday with Super Bowl Sunday coming around? There is a lot of concern in the industry right now.
Well, the guidance is that you shouldn't be having COVID, their Super Bowl celebrations this weekend. The public health orders are pretty clear on that. We encourage people to enjoy a football game at their home with their bubble. That's certainly my plan. And this should come as no surprise to the sector. This is something we've been working on as a community, as a province, for months and months. And we are starting to see case counts come down. We're starting to see progress, not just here in British Columbia, but indeed across the country. This is all very, very good news, but we are not out of the woods yet. We need to ensure that we get back on track with our vaccination program, and that has everything to do with challenges in Europe that the federal government is working on, and I'm confident that we'll be able to meet our first quarter objectives of multiple millions of vaccinations into British Columbia. But until then, people need to continue to be vigilant and to continue to practice what we have been doing. Stay distant, wear a mask, wash your hands, and do not congregate in large numbers. And the industry knows that, and I'm hopeful that British Columbians will follow suit. Dr. Henry and Minister Dix will be talking about modelling and health orders on Friday, and I ask you to stay tuned for that, but you don't need to wait till Friday to know that on Sunday you should not be, the hospitality sector should not be welcoming large numbers of people into a crowded space, or we're going to see consequences to that, as we did with the pseudo nightclub in Vancouver this week.
Next question from Shannon Waters, BC Today. Shannon, are you there?
Shannon, your line is open. Please check if your phone is on mute.
Okay. Next one.
How about Shannon?
Okay, we're going to move on to the next and final question today. It will be from Prabjot Sohal, Red FM.
Thank you. My question was actually answered, so I don't have any, but thank you for that.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Drive safely.